Wynton, you're here to celebrate the International Day for Dialogue Among Civilizations, and you've traveled to dozens and dozens of countries over the years, including China. How do you think music has played a role in fostering cultural exchange and dialogue among nations? And would you consider yourself an ambassador of art?
Well, I want to be an ambassador of art. I don't know if I would proclaim myself to be that, but wherever I go, wherever I find myself, I'm always gracious and a gracious guest, and I always want people to want me to come back. And I'm always trying to learn things about their culture and their music. And music is such an abstract language. It's the art of the invisible. So it's all things like thoughts, dreams, hopes, aspirations, feelings, and these are things that are universal. And in as much as you can understand music from different cultures, you can begin to identify that aspect of the music. And I have many friends that play music, great musicians from around the world. And that many times that's the subject of our conversation. How can we bring the world closer together? And how can we have people experience what we experience with the type of mutual love and respect that we have?
In 2001, you were named a UN Messenger of Peace, and that comes with a lot of responsibility. Part of that honor raises awareness for UN efforts around the world. Tell us a little bit about that time in using your art to promote the United Nations and its goals around the world, and what that meant to you.
Well, I think if you just start with the thought of a League of Nations coming out of World War II, the struggles that everybody had was fresh. And everyone was saying, we don't want to do that again. And then Dr. Ralph Bunche, part of the tradition of the UN, is a famous Afro-American diplomat that's at the foundation of UN efforts. And then the whole thought of one world, one trying to work towards to overcome nationalism, which will be the next step of evolution in the world, to just get to it. It's interesting, whenever astronauts leave the Earth, they always say that, because then they have a context. They can contextualize the Earth amidst the darkness of space. And they always say, we need to take care of this. So yeah, to be named by Kofi Annan, and Kofi, we were always working on things, and he was always about bringing the world together. And for me, it's always an honor to go about the business of a common humanity. I'm a universal humanist. Like, I believe in the universality of the human experience, that we have a lot more in common than we have different. And I always talk to my friends that are in medicine. If you need a kidney for somebody, do you say, well, I don't want no Chinese kidney or no Mexican kidney? If you have a kidney, you're gonna, and I think that the deeper we get inside of human beings, the more we are the same. I look at your face, I know it's you. If I'm looking at your skeleton, I don't know. If I'm looking at organs, I don't know. If I'm looking at blood, and once we get to the spirit, it's one. So it's just a difficult consciousness, because we have such a bloody history and such a history of disrespecting one another that is hard to overcome. But the music is a part of it, and the UN is certainly an important step in the direction of us all coming together. And we have to remember how young all of these efforts are and how fresh they are, and it's gonna take a while.
Because everyone always says that music and art, they're universal languages. They transcend borders.
They can. Music and art can transcend borders if you have an understanding and a training in them. Or even for me as a musician, if I play with musicians from like, let's just say Chinese musicians, as a Westerner, we will know the cliche of the pentatonic scale. But if you talk to a Chinese musician, there'll be 55 scales and 85 applications. And things are always, on a fundamental level, they seem obvious, and they are. But when you get into the nuances of them and the meanings of them and everything that people have worked on, it becomes very complicated. So having had the chance to play with flamenco musicians, play with musicians from Ghana, play with Brazilian musicians, to play with recently musicians from India, and to study music all over the world, you know, we have a universal basis, but even listening to it, the more you learn about it, the more you can appreciate. And it's just a matter of you have to invest something in it to get something out of it.
You have a lot of Grammys on your shelf. Do you think that has opened the door for you raising global awareness, do you think, in the genre of jazz?
No, I don't think so, because these are more like popular awards. I think that for me, it was the opportunity to travel around the world and play like I'm talking to you. I've had the chance for 40 years to travel to people's cities, to be in their homes, to represent the music, to play with musicians of other cultures, playing good and bad. Because sometimes you're trying to learn people's music, you don't sound good, but it's always with the same humility and the kind of desire to improve that my father taught me and the other great jazz musicians that I was blessed to play with.
Mr. Wynton Marsalis, thank you for joining us.
Yes, ma'am, Miss Elaine, thank you.